Hello and welcome to the TMZ podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton, and joining me on the podcast today is our legal Lothario, Derek Kaufman.
You must have something legal up your sleeve. You got some court stories in here?
Always got court stories, man.
All right, man. Well, let's get after it.
We'll talk about Kevin Hart because he is at the center of like a legal case where it's over an extortion of a sex tape.
Yes, he can't put this case behind him. This has been percolating for years, but now there's a new big development that we got to talk about.
Okay. We'll talk about Britney because she's got rid of one moocher in her life, her boyfriend, and she's added another one, her
Yeah.
brother.
Amazing. But blood's thicker than water, man.
We will give you the best skin rejuvenation technique out there on the market right now, just at the end there.
We need it. We got the crow's feet.
We swear by this. So does Kim Kardashian. But to begin with, the news since George Clooney wrote that op-ed calling for Biden to drop out, it has been everywhere. We've heard from Trump. We've heard from Biden. Apparently, George was talking to Obama about it before he even dropped the op-ed.
This is unbelievable. This has been the noisiest anti-Biden campaign that we've heard yet. Because a few Congress people, a senator has now even said Biden should step away. But when George Clooney speaks, the world listens. And now Biden had to fire back. The president of the United States has to fire back at the dude from ER. It's wild to me.
So George Clooney was at a fundraiser with Biden, a fundraiser which raised more money than any other fundraiser in U.S. history, $28 million.
And like 3 weeks ago.
It was about 3 weeks ago. And from all reports, Biden wasn't on peak form that night. And George is writing about that in the wake of the debate and that sort of stuff, saying this old man needs to drop out. Well, Biden is now saying, George, it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
We told you that he had other scheduling conflicts, like he was flying back from the G7
Yes.
Overnight, so he'd be tired anyway. But George said, we need it on June 15th. We need it that night. That's the only night that George can do. So Biden reshuffled his schedule for George Clooney.
Couldn't miss raising $30 million. I mean, it's a big,
and was tired that night.
Okay, so here's the problem with what Joe Biden is saying. This may all well be true. Clooney may have pushed for a certain date. He may have been very, very busy. It says he took a 13-hour flight from Italy to the fundraiser in LA. Look, that's exhausting. Guess what? Being president of the United States is exhausting. You got to take 13-hour trips all the time, and you still have to function. That's why you see all those pictures of presidents. You ever seen the side-by-side when Obama took office and when he left office?
Yeah.
It ages you. And the problem is he doesn't have room to be aged anymore. When you age someone who is in their late 70s to their early 80s, which is what Joe Biden has done for 4 years, running the free world, you're going to slow down. And he's infirm now. So this only, to me, hammers the point. When he's responding by saying, you caused this because you know I'd be tuckered out. I'm an old man. Yeah, that's why you can't be president. I mean, It's part of the reason. You got to be able to sort of step up to the plate and function at a very high level despite not getting enough sleep.
Well, you share a certain opinion with Donald Trump then, because Donald Trump wrote of the George Clooney condemnation of Biden. So now fake movie actor George Clooney, who never came close to making a great movie, is getting into the act. He's turned on Crooked Joe like the rats they both are. Joe Biden didn't save our democracy. He brought our democracy to its knees. Clooney should get out of politics and go back to television. Movies never really worked for him.
Can I tell you, there's so many layers to this. First of all, I know Donald Trump is dangerous to our country, but he's funny. Okay, let's at least. I've had many debates with people who are like, he's so grotesque, he's so dangerous, he's not funny. He is, okay? And that charisma we have to wrestle with. First of all, fake movie actor. The guy's made Ocean's 11. He's made like great movies. To call him a TV actor just because he started on ER and Facts of Life is high comedy, and it's probably what cuts George Clooney the deepest. Here's what I really focused on. When he says George Clooney's a rat, like he's not loyal, that tells you so much about Donald Trump. What Donald Trump values above all else is loyalty to him. Remember when he used to like go up to his people in his cabinet and the FBI director, and he was like, you ride with me, right?
Yeah.
And when they would say like, I'm a civil servant, I'm a bureaucrat, I serve the American people, he's like, you ain't gonna last.
Yeah.
And that's what he's telling you about himself. He actually is anti-George Clooney because he's disloyal,
Yeah,
to someone. You know,
yeah.
it doesn't matter that he believes the same thing that George Clooney says about Joe Biden, that Joe Biden's not up to being president. He's actually focusing on the rat quality. I thought that was interesting.
Do you think this George Clooney op-ed might be the thing that brings down the Biden campaign?
It seems like a tipping point, doesn't it?
It does.
It feels like this story, when people have stood up and said, you know, I still with Joe. Chuck Schumer has been very careful to say, I still with Joe. I'm still with Joe. AOC has said the matter is closed. But George Clooney speaking up because he touches more of the American public than politicians. I think you could see dominoes start to fall. Is that what you feel?
I do. I mean, dominoes already starting to fall, but when the biggest movie actor, who's also like a friend and a
Yes.
supporter of that man, comes out and says, nah, not even I will support this guy, then if George won't support him, then
He raised $30 million for him, and he's like, hey, I got to say, when I saw him, he looks different.
yeah, my bad.
It says a lot, because your enemies will always say that, people who are waiting for you to fail. But this is a guy who clearly loved Joe Biden, thinks he saved us in 2020, and he would like to, at least 3 weeks ago, he wanted him to run again. And then he saw him, and he's like, ooh, things have changed.
The biggest mistake Trump has made in this campaign is agreeing to debate Joe Biden before he was made the official candidate. Because now it has given Democrats enough time to wriggle out of that bad choice for running for president.
So you want the debate to be post-convention when they've already declared him.
If Trump was a little smarter, I think, he wouldn't have agreed to that debate where we would have seen how bad Biden is. Imagine if that debate had taken place after Joe Biden was already named the candidate officially.
This is fascinating.
The biggest
I
mistake.
had not thought about this. This is
biggest
actually
mistake
true
Trump
because
made.
he's given them time to wriggle out. Now, it's pretty tight time
Right.
frame. We are in July, and the election is happening in November. So that's a close time frame. But you're right. They can wriggle out of this. They can put up, you know, sort of Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom. There is still time for them to pivot. And if you had left it to the convention where they're like, Joe, 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 and then he pulled the rug out from under them with that debate, maybe you're right. It would have been more
terrible.
effective.
Could you imagine? It would have been terrible.
Wow.
Thank you, man.
That's some keen political
I'm smarter
analysis.
than I look. I'm smarter than I sound.
I hadn't thought about it.
Okay. On to our next story. Britney Spears has a new roommate. It's her brother, Brian. So she broke up with her boyfriend, Paul Soliz, a lovely man by all reports, an ex-convict.
What a come up. Maintenance guy.
Maintenance guy. So he was just mooching off her, apparently, using her for the luxurious lifestyle. So she broke up with him 3 weeks ago.
Did you see that she suddenly realized that?
Yeah.
Even though we outsiders realized it immediately upon hearing it?
I know, but it's always the way when you got a friend who's dating someone bad, you tell them like, duh. Like,
It's pretty
look,
obvious.
It's pretty obvious. And they're like, no, until like, okay, you were right. You
Yeah.
know what? It's a bit like that.
Yes.
Well, now it's just interesting to me that her brother Brian has moved in and she was calling him the same thing for many years, that he was using her, but now she's like trading one moocher for another.
Yeah, I think she's in a bit of a tailspin in her life, right? And you're just clinging for some stability. And even though she's had issues with every member of her family, she certainly can't lean on her father. You know, he's, well, she can't lean on him. She's had issues with him. Jamie Lynn can't lean on her, hates her mother.
Right.
So Brian just is sort of winning by default, right?
Yeah.
He's the only family member who, remember you trashed me, but it was kind of lighter. You did a lighter touch on me. So I feel like Brian is it, and he knows it. I'm just amazed that he can just uproot his life. Doesn't he have like a life to
He
go
must
live with my
not.
sister? Imagine if Ruthie, your sister, ever said like, I'm in a bad way. Can you come move here with me? You'd have to like leave Peach and Aaron or bring
true.
Peach and Aaron out to
True.
Australia. It's like, she's an adult. She's my age, man. She's like in her 40s or close to her 40s.
But they both, Brittany and Brian, must have like kind of nothing going on. So they're
true.
like, let's do nothing together.
I love my sister, but I'm not moving in. You know,
Could you and your sister living together with no one? Could you just could you stand that for like a period of time?
I couldn't stand it for a holiday weekend. Like, I can't imagine it. Like you get along with it. I don't want to like shuffle around in my underwear with my sister in my 40s. I have no interest in it.
And we all know that Britney Spears is doing a lot of shuffling in underpants.
Can you imagine?
It's all she does.
She's twirling, and he's got to like, hey, can I use the restroom?
No, you've got to film it, Brian. Yeah.
Hopefully that camera's mounted. It's always that same weird
Yeah.
angle.
All right, let's get on with our next story. Kevin Hart. He's been at the center of this scandal, I suppose, for years now. It stems back to an infamous 2017 sex tape, which he allegedly shot with Montia Sabag. So this
While he was married.
while he was married.
So that was the
that's-
scandal part. I mean, making a sex tape in general, but it was also maybe some infidelity. That was what was hurting his reputation.
So his friend, JT Jackson, was somehow involved in the recording, or Kevin supposed the dissemination of the sex tape, which was kind of thrown out of court. JT
Was charged?
was charged, but the case was dropped, that he was not trying to leak footage of his friend, Kevin Hart. And so
It's extremely complicated. Kevin said he got an email that was extorting him, but then they traced the forensics of the email, and it was like written on a computer with a later version of Word or something. It was very, very bizarre. And JT always maintained, bro, I didn't do anything. I'm not extorting you. I was your buddy. The charges were dropped. So JT and Kevin get together and say, like, we need to just settle this matter. And as part of the settlement, Kevin says, according to JT and according to this lawsuit, signed a settlement agreement that has a full script of what he needs to post to say, like, the charges have been dropped. I lost a friend who was not guilty of anything. And he was supposed to post this to rehabilitate JT's reputation so that he could get back in the industry and not be known as an extorter, to put it all behind him. And he says Kevin didn't stick to the script.
Right.
And as a result of not sticking to the script, he's hurt me. I'm not able to rehabilitate my career, and my career was worth a lot of money, up to $12 million or more.
So he wants $12 million for breach of contract, infliction of emotional distress. My big question is this back in 2017, Kevin's married. He hooks up with someone, kind of cheats on his wife. Why was he a willing participant in a sex tape?
Unclear. Unclear. I don't know whether he was recorded without his consent, whether he thought he could keep it under wraps, whether it was a setup in some way. I mean, I think Kevin Hart is pretty savvy, and he has a very sort of clean public image of a family guy. He does family movies for the most part, although his comedy can get kind of dirty. I don't really know the ins and outs. I know that this story has followed him for years, though.
Yeah.
And to have this come out, before a lawsuit is filed, JT probably went to him and said, hey, man, post another apology or fix this apology because it's not helping me. And Kevin might have blown it off, might have said, like, no, you got what you got. If I redo this, I'm going to look like I'm lying, or whatever he said. And the guy said, well, I'm going to sue you because I can't, rehab my image unless I get this type of apology. And then for Kevin to not resolve this so that new litigation doesn't come out and bring this whole Montia
Yeah, now we're
story,
talking about it again.
it's back in the news. And so I'm confused. I don't know how Kevin's going to respond to this. Obviously, now that it's in litigation, he has to do something. He has to file an answer. He has to settle it. He can't stay silent anymore and hope it goes away. And this just hurts him. This is a guy worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
He's got a huge image. He was just doing the Tom Brady roast. I mean, he wants to put this as far behind him as possible. And JT's brought it back into the forefront. I find it bizarre. I would think Kevin is livid with his handlers and his lawyers for not resolving this before it came out.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't really care. I don't really.
Fair enough.
I want to move on to our almost news story because this is a good one. The secret to looking youthful lies in salmon.
Yes.
Salmon sperm.
Splooge. Yes.
Splooge. Salmon splooge. So Kim Kardashian, just on their show last night, said that she gets this anti-aging trick done. And it's the same one that Jennifer Aniston has also said that she gets.
Who also looks incredible. So, I mean, it seems to work.
So apparently salmon sperm, it improves skin hydration, plumpness, texture, and wrinkles thanks to high DNA levels loaded with amino acids.
And apparently it's a pretty old technique, and they use sort of micro needles to puncture holes in your skin so that it can penetrate in. Doesn't it make you wonder who was the first person to say,
Bro.
you know what, I got to get that salmon and I got to extract its sperm?
That's what's written on my paper.
Oh, did you?
Who was the first person to discover this?
Who said, I need only get me all male salmon, let me extract their semen, and let me rub it in my face.
And how many animals do you try before you get to salmon?
Totally agree. So why salmon? I mean, what is special about salmon? Why not? You got to go through mammals first. You go
Right.
through every mammal before you try to catch something in the sea.
It's an obscure animal to pick their sperm, so I would would have thought it's maybe 100th on the list.
Yeah. I assume maybe a more dangerous animal has better sperm, but it's harder to extract, like bear semen.
Bear
Like,
semen.
you don't want to mess with bears.
But bear semen sounds believable that it would be like really potent and like sort of like do something to your skin. But no, salmon is the way. And also, you got a lovely dinner afterwards.
Beautiful. This is a win on every level, right?
Would you ever try this?
Absolutely. I have no problem rubbing serums into my skin. None. Do you?
No,
I don't actually, I'm not big into creams like sunscreen and stuff. So, but if this works, and look how good they look. The proof's in the pudding, right?
The proof is in the pudding. Get us some salmons in here.
She's my age, and I look like a Joe Biden next to her.
Yeah, it's bad news for male salmons. Female salmon's like,
That's
it's
the
the
one.
life. That's the life right now.
That's the one.
You just get their little, what do you put on top of sushi?
Salmon roe.
Salmon roe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the salmon.
Next time you're going to be at the sushi restaurant.
What a
just
useful
rubbing rolls
animal.
on your face.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Okay, Derek. Thanks for joining me, mate.
Always good time.
And we'll see you guys here tomorrow. Goodbye.